Cheers.
All right, ready? Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Collective Journey. I'm your host, Courtney.
Oh, yeah. And Abe.
Yeah, he's here too. Don't sound too excited. It's Monday. You guys, we're kicking back. We're having a couple of cold ones. Well, actually, Abe's drinking a beer and I'm drinking ice wine. I put this on my IG story this week. I was asking people if they've ever heard of what ice wine is. And I actually had a coworker who's from the local area here in Germany, and she was telling me that like ice wine is a phenomenon here. And I don't know, I'm not like a wine person, but I just wanted to share it with you guys because it's pretty interesting. I guess in short, it's all about how they harvest the grapes. They're frozen, but then I also heard that there's a lower level of alcohol in the drink, in the wine.
I don't know, but I know it's good. And
it is pretty good.
That's what's important.
But they said that for it to be as expensive as it is, you would think there would be a higher level of alcohol in it. With that being said,
I just wanted to taste good.
Monday. And I wanted to also let you guys know, we just hit 1,000 downloads last week, and we're pretty fucking excited about it.
Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop. So thank you.
That was odd.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I was just, being in the moment. Thank you guys for supporting us and putting up with our shenanigans every Monday. And it's pretty dope.
I'm coming out for our 1,000 downloads. Got some stickers coming on the way. Hit us up if you want a sticker so you can rep the podcast.
There you go.
Free.
Put it on your hydro flask. Put it on your skateboard. Put it on your MacBook. Take us with you everywhere. And also, because we hit 1,000 downloads, we did a poll on our IG, if you're not following us, at the Collective Journey Podcast. And we asked people, since we got 1,000 downloads, do you think we should do a TikTok? And 60% of the people voted yes.
No,
they said yes. And then like 10% said, what is TikTok? And like, I'm not that much of a math person, but like 20% or whatever was like, TikTok's like 2020. So.
Yeah, I voted no.
Stay tuned. More to come from that. So, can you tell us about, we wanted to get into a documentary that we watched. We're still in quarantine over here. Semi-quarantine is what I call it now. And we watched Operation Varsity Blues. Have you guys seen it? What do you think, Abe? Why did they call it Operation Varsity Blues? Because that's like an old school football movie.
Because that's the FBI name. Operation that they use. That was a sting operation. Varsity Blues, yeah.
Got it.
If you were paying attention to the documentary, you would know that.
I don't know if anybody else.
Also, Courtney falls asleep during every movie that we watch, show. She comes in and out, and then she acts like she's watching it. So
I watched the entire thing. I was literally just about to say that. So
no, I always have to check up on Courtney. Be like, "Are you awake? Are you awake?" But yeah, we ended up watching it. It was pretty decent. It's an interesting take on, I guess, what happened with the whole college scandal. Pretty much buying your way into college. I'm not gonna lie. Once that story came out, I didn't really care. Everybody was saying it was so crazy that, was it the lady off of Full House? What's her name?
Lori Lofton.
Yeah, like that. She was involved in this whole thing, and like her daughter was like a trending person on Instagram. This is how old I am, I guess, maybe because I'm just like, I don't even know who this girl was, but apparently she had like a Sephora line and a huge following on like the YouTubes and
Her daughter.
and the Instagram and the books with the face. But yeah, so she was like a somebody on social media. So I guess that was like why it was like so big. It was the Full House mom, and then that designer husband, and then like the YouTube star daughter, right?
Massimo. Yeah.
I don't even know.
His name's Massimo. He's like a famous designer,
Sounds
fashion
made
designer.
Up. That sounds made up.
Abe, he's an
changed his name.
established, famous fashion designer.
When I get famous, am I going to change my name? Or should I change my name?
I mean, whether that's a stage name or not.
Come with the territory?
Don't be disrespectful. The fashion bloggers do not appreciate that.
I call myself Jacinto.
I'm so done with you right now. Okay, can we reel it back in before we digress? So, I'm not going to lie. When I first heard about the college admission scandal, I was just in a different space and place. First of all, I didn't really like get on YouTube like that until the pandemic. So that whole thing went over my head, like the fact that she was a YouTube star. And I just kind of thought, oh, sounds like rich people problems. I wouldn't know about that.
I'm not going to lie. When she came out and they were like, it's the Full House star, I was like, oh, dang, she still got some money? Like, I thought that kind of had like run dry. I guess it's more the husband, right? What's his name?
Yeah.
Maximo.
Wow.
Sounds like a robot. But yeah, I was like really, really surprised that she still had enough money to pay for her daughter to go to college. That was pretty interesting.
Dude, Full House is like always on reruns.
It was like $500,000
per kid. Yeah. I mean, he's a fashion designer.
Yeah, she was ready. She was ready for that.
Writing those checks.
Yeah, or wire fraud and mail fraud or whatever it is that she did.
Yeah.
Did she get time?
And she did. I don't really remember what the backstory was with her time. I think it was like, like all rich people that go to federal prison and they're like, oh, like it's overcrowded.
Collar. Like she's rocking the Martha Stewart ankle bracelet.
It was like overcrowded. They sent her home eventually. But in case you haven't watched it and you didn't follow it in the news, so there was this guy and he was claiming himself as a college coach. He would coach kids.
He was a coach.
And he would coach them and prepare them for college.
Which I just want to highlight. This guy was out of like Sacramento, which is like only like 30 minutes away from my hometown of Stockton, California. 219, what's up? Represent. Anyway, so he was only like 30 minutes away from Stockton. Mm-hmm. Which that place is kind of like, it's the capital of California, but it's not
the nicest.
No, it's pretty nice. It's not like your New York or your San Francisco.
He moved up to, he went to Newport News.
All right, that's later. So anyway, Newport News, that's in Virginia.
Okay.
Newport Beach.
Wow.
I'll take a drink for that one. Anyway, so... I thought that was pretty interesting that he was out of Sacramento, so he was kind of like a regular person, right? And he was like coaching a college basketball team. Eventually got let go from the team, and he started this career as a independent college advisor.
Yes.
Right? Which I didn't even know that was a thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm just I was really out of touch with the whole college situation because I was so determined to get into college, right? That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I definitely didn't know that like that resource was even available. So
money buys a lot of things.
Yeah. So in high school, did you ever have like a college advisor?
Not a private college advisor.
Not to that caliber.
No.
Yeah, so that's that whole thing, that whole situation was pretty interesting to me just because I didn't know that resource was available, but apparently it's something that many, like affluent families do, right? Like
Yes.
somebody in like positions of power, they either right get like this private advisor, and I think they range in they said like $100 an hour.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like lawyer pay, higher. You know, like a really good lawyer is gonna probably get paid that. Like, and that's crazy. Like to pretty much advise and help you like fill out applications and kind of weave in and out of like, I guess whatever the colleges are looking for. And it sounds so crazy, at least to me, because college is like a business now, right? And it's interesting the fact that you have to pay money to go somewhere to pay more money, to get accepted into a place where you're going to pay even more money. So that the whole situation, I mean, I get why people would want to get an advisor, but the whole situation of getting an advisor in the first place to pretty much pay, you know, these are really good colleges that they're trying to get into, you know, expensive colleges, pay even more money to have this education. Like I was like, man, like us as a society, we're kind of, we love to try to go to college or really push the whole college dream, right? Like it's in every movie. It's just, the whole thing is interesting. What do you think?
Well, for one, it's just like us talking about getting a life coach or like getting a doula. Like for most people, for one, you know, we come from, I feel like our generation, you know, not a lot of our parents went to college. And then two, people like these affluent families who, you know, of course they went to college, they're like, oh, the game has changed. And, you know, they want to prove their status. They want to, and I think also in the States, like when they were talking about in the documentary, like these are prestige colleges and like what the word stems from and how much value they hold on Ivy League colleges. It's all about the name on the paper. That's what they breed into our brains, that for us who aren't in the military, that when you go into these job interviews, it matters what's on that piece of paper. And what am I talking about when I say that? I'm talking about your diploma, which I'm a firm believer that that's all bullshit, because it's not, I don't think that it's what you know, it's who you know. And you don't always have to be a graduate from Harvard or Princeton in order to make it into society today. I mean, we have things called influencers now, but it is a business, and it costs a lot of money. And money sometimes does make the world go round, but it does not bring you happiness. But it makes the world go round, and it gets you into a lot of places.
Yeah, it's almost like you're pretty much paying for, I mean, obviously you go to like a really prestigious Ivy League school, you're almost paying into like a social circle. Or some sort of networking opportunity, right?
Yes.
To be around, you know, other like-minded individuals. What I thought was interesting too was, I mean, I never really went through this because I didn't, you know, little backstory, right? After high school, so I was gonna go to college, right? I always had the idea. It's always instilled in you to go to college, right? But because of the price, right, the loans, all things of that nature, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to community college. Eventually, I was like, you know, I'm kind of glad I did that because I wasn't disciplined enough to even, I guess, take that seriously. And obviously, you know, I went to community college for a little bit and then ended up joining the Air Force because I was like, you know, I need to get my life on track. But I already had that mindset going forward, so I didn't necessarily, you know, was on this like huge expectation of like the kids nowadays are like, I have this school, Stanford or Berkeley or NYU. They're like, you know, I have to get to this college. Like I have to get in. It's what I've been working my whole life. It's the whole reason, I've been going to school. It's the whole reason I've been studying. It's the whole reason I've been, a lot of hard work, And then in the documentary, they highlight obviously it's fake and it's over dramatized, but seeing these kids, real or fake, kind of, and I know it happens, because I've seen it, right, like on social media and stuff like that. People get really upset and
yeah, that's real.
Yeah, not get into the college that they want, and then like the feeling of like their life is over because they didn't get into this college and this world that they imagined and this social circle, and they're seeing like all their friends get in to that college that they wanted to go, and they're not going to be a part of that whole social dynamic. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought it was interesting that it was a driving factor for a lot of young adults, and they're willing to put themselves, and obviously we know this for a lot of people, in mass amounts of debt in order to reach just getting to this college. Not even the real end goal, right? Which is like part of their career. Like they're fixated on going to this certain college because they saw it on Instagram and they have this certain life that they want to kind of portray and maintain. Obviously it just feeds into the whole like social media dynamic. So I was like, man, and the families are willing to do it too, right? That's why they're trying to pay, $500,000 in the movie to try to lie, cheat, and steal their way into college.
So you think social media is hyped up?
Yeah,
the college.
Of course. There's like a huge marketing aspect that I think colleges take advantage of, with sports, with certain athletes that they, want them to push on social media, that they, like, hey, look at this athlete that we've recruited. Look at these people that are going to this college. Look at this great time that they're having, so on and so forth. Yeah, for sure, 1,000%.
I think the parents play into it because, you're not talking about Judy Smith, who is an RN at the local United Regional. We're talking about Lori Lofton, who's, a retired actress, if you will, who's married to a fashion designer in LA. And I think a couple of things that come into play with that is that, for one, like, they want to hold up their status within their social circle, right? And then also, you look at these people who come from what we would call a privileged family, and maybe the parents, they obviously didn't raise their kids to be, one, passionate, two, determined, three, obviously no hustle skills. Because if it was up to me and this was my dream, then I would be throwing everything into it like these other kids. Like those kids that they videotaped, that was real. Like I've seen friends, I've seen friends who, their whole world fell apart because they didn't get into the college that they wanted to get into, and they didn't know where to go next. And I think people like that, they're like, oh, fuck, they were saying that Lori was saying her daughter was stupid, like her words. And so obviously it's like,
yeah, that's interesting she would say that.
Yeah, and you feel like you failed somewhere as a parent because your child is not academically with it.
I also don't think that it's not that she wasn't academically not with it, or she wasn't. So this girl obviously developed a huge following. She had launched, I think, that same year, like a Sephora line. And for a lot of people, I mean, that is the end goal, right? Like they want to get to that place in life where they already have pretty much a business. So while she was in school, she was already receiving sponsorships and deals and launching a makeup line. almost leaps and bounds ahead of her peers, right? She was hustling, like legit. And it's interesting that her parents still really wanted her to push on and go to a college, USC. It's odd to me, and it's like, keeping, like you talked about, keeping that social circle, that reputation, that certain prestige within, their community and their social circle, that they're willing to, pretty much, instead of nurturing that motivation and drive to, her kind of somewhat business empire, right? They're like, go to college, which is not a bad thing. And, I'm not trying to knock anybody that does go to college. She obviously she was not motivated enough to go to school, and they still kind of pushed her to go to school. Do you think her mom was trying to, because they highlighted in the documentary that she was, both of them did not attend college, right? Mm-hmm. And the daughters are laughing, and they're like, oh, look where they're at now. Like, they were successful without it. Do you think it's because her parents wanted to live vicariously through their children?
It could be. Honestly, I think that it's the smarter decision, because you have to remember, like, these kids are like growing up in Hollywood Hills where they're very out of touch with reality. And the thing with being something like a YouTube star, you're here today and you're gone tomorrow. And if there's anything that we've learned in pop culture over the years is that, nobody's Kim Kardashian. So, meaning like nobody's untouched. And you can be relevant and everybody can love you, and you can have 20,000 subscribers, and then you can be gone tomorrow because, an old tweet, was dug up from Twitter and was pushed out, and now everybody hates you because, they found out that you're a closet racist or something like that. And there goes all your checks.
Well,
but
first off, they should.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. And so why would you do that?
I'm not agreeing with the whole cancel culture thing, because, it's kind of morphed into a whole different beast. Like, they're canceling people, obviously, for, like, saying, not racist things, but other things that are like,
just anything,
like everything is like super analyzed and like over dissected.
Yeah, but that's not what it's getting into. The cancel culture, save it for another time, you guys. But I think that I kind of would like to think that, Lori Loughlin, who was, an adult star. I don't know if she was, famous before Full House, but I mean, I would like to think that she's a D-list celebrity, and maybe she's a little bit humble, and she might be a little bit smart and think, oh, what they can't come for is your education. That was something somebody told me one time, was that they can take everything away from you, but they can't take away your diploma. And like, people value education. Like,
yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Education is valuable, but I don't think to the point where putting yourself in mass amounts of debts. You're talking about some people are putting themselves in like $70,000 worth of debt, and then coming back, and their end goal is like to be a teacher.
Yeah, well,
and
no shit.
I'm like, what are you doing? Why, like that? Those two don't correlate,
No, they don't.
So, or at least, like the salary, how much you're paying. You could do this anywhere else, and I get it. Like, you want to get the best education out of, to become a teacher and, exposure and all that stuff. But $70,000 for, a $40,000 job a year is a lot. You're talking about, I guess if you love what you love, obviously, the money aspect doesn't matter, but a lot of people kind of chase certain careers for the money, end up putting themselves in debt, and then not follow through with that career. It's interesting. It's interesting, how much we push education in our society. Like it's in Hollywood, it's a huge driving factor. You know, there's like 1,000 movies on getting into college or going to college or the college experience. Obviously, you know, some people really experience that type of Hollywood college life. Others do not. You know, it's odd. It's odd.
So tell us, did you go to college?
I went
What
to
was your senior year like? Were you prepping for college? Were you doing SAT tutorials?
I was a part of it was like this it was like a special class to prep you for college, to get you into a good college. It was called like Avid, right? And pretty much the class was geared towards like getting exposure, you know, going on tours to different college campuses, prepping you for SATs, essay writing, you know, pretty much like a advisor inside. Like the class was to get you into college. But in the end of it, during the whole thing, I was just like, I'm so out of touch with this. Like, I don't even care about this.
That was your senior year?
You do it your whole time in high school.
Oh, okay.
And my senior year, actually my junior year, going into my senior year, I decided not to take it because I looked around and, you know, these people around me were like, man, I really, 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 you know, want to do this college, blah, blah, blah. And I was always like, you know, I would get good grades or whatever, right? But I did not have like the same drive and desire, and I didn't understand it. And even just watching the movie, I didn't really understand like huge driving factor to really fixate on a school and go there. Just because for me, you know, I don't come from a rich family, so I knew I was going to have to get student loans. If I wasn't to get student loans, I would have to get a full ride scholarship to get me into this college, to pay for my tuition, to pay for my housing, right? Because a lot of these colleges are not in the area. And maybe it's just me being a realist, but I was like, I'm a realist. Like, if I get average scores, I'll get into a decent college. I'll get into the college, right? Or good scores, I'll get into the college. But I'm not going to get a full ride scholarship. I have to be like a brainiac. I mean, like, you know, I have to be able to get into an Ivy League college to make myself marketable enough to get a full ride scholarship into some of these, you know, these colleges. And I was just like, I don't think that's for me.
Was that your junior year that you're having those realizations, or your senior year?
My junior year, and then my senior year, I was just like, I'm not going to take that class anymore. I'm just going to go to community college. So this class serves no purpose for me. And in the end, like I said, it was kind of the smarter decision because I was not taking college seriously, you know?
Yeah.
What about you? What was your experience like getting into college?
Well, I was never I'm more of a student of life and not a student of education.
Okay. What does that mean?
I feel like school was never my thing when I was younger. When I was in high school, it just wasn't like me and school were not hand in hand. And I remember like I did all the things, right? Like I did all the extracurricular activities because I was like, when I get into college, like I want to, you know, you need this for college. And then as I was like you said, your junior year, like my junior year, I took an SAT prep class. And yeah, I guess like the same thing, dude. Like I just remember sitting in the class being like, what am I doing in here? You know, like I
don't give a fuck about this.
Well, very like, you know, good intentions. I would say that I just didn't have the stable and disciplined environment that I needed in order to prep myself for college. I too was also going to be first generation. Nobody in my family had graduated to college, and both my parents had like some college. You know, like when you fill out the application, they're like, how much college do you have? They have like a couple credit hours. So I didn't really have anybody there to be like, this is what you need to do and this is what you need to take. And my only options in front of me were, well, you can get a Pell Grant that's going to pay for part of your college, and then you're going to have to get student loans and probably go into debt, or you can just straight up get student loans and no Pell Grant if you don't qualify, because then that also goes off of your parents' income that they make. And so my parents' income was kind of like teeter-totter in between, which kind of sucks for kids who grow up middle class. So that was my experience where my senior year hit and I was like, this is not going to happen. This is not for me. I don't want to go to school. I don't like school. I just want to make money. Like, I had a job. I got my first job when I was like 16 years old, and I loved working. And I was like, I don't want to go to school. Just want to work. And I want to get like real experience out of life. And so I didn't go to school until I was 21. I started school at a community college.
Yeah, it was the same boat, right? I came back and then started going to college again once I took it more seriously, because at the time that whole situation that you described gave me a lot of anxiety, right? Because I was just kind of lying to myself, or I knew I was lying to myself and everybody around me by saying like I was really interested in going to college and that I really cared about these SATs and I really cared about going into a reputable school. The fact of the matter was I did not care. I honestly didn't, and I knew I didn't care. Therefore, getting student loans, obviously, like if I got them, I would have got them if I took college more seriously. But I was just like, I'm not taking this seriously. Come to find out, went to college, did not take it seriously. Pretty much. Sometimes I went to class, sometimes I didn't. It was a mess. It was a mess. I was looking at trade schools, all sorts of things like out of high school, because I kind of knew. And my parents were really big on the whole college aspect. We have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. But like, I was just I didn't really care. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
What were you into? Like, what did you want to do?
It was a weird thing, because I was like, I want to go to art school at the time.
That's funny, me too.
So I wanted to get into like graphic design and then like go work for a company, doing some sort of marketing and like being in like their art department, developing some sort of graphic or for the company, right? Different ideas. I enjoyed that aspect of like sales and art, right? But or I even considered marketing, but my parents, it's like they're that typical like, hey dad, I want to be a nurse. Why not a doctor? It's like, hey, I want to become a teacher. It's like, why not a lawyer? And it's just like, because I don't give a fuck about any of those careers, like.
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
Yeah, so it was just, the whole situation was odd. And then I was considering trades, but I was like, I don't really like working with my hands, and people were like, well, dad, work on cars. Like, you're good with cars, you're mechanically inclined. And I was like, I don't foresee myself doing that my whole life. Like, I barely like working on my own car. I only like working on it for like performance reasons and like as like a project, viewing it as like some sort of form of art. But yeah. So it was like the whole thing was just doomed from the beginning. I'm actually glad I ended up joining the Air Force, right, and doing the things that I did. But yeah, I don't. Man, I probably would have been lost if I didn't join the Air Force, or if I stayed and like kind of pushed through going to community college and like going and doing a career that I just didn't really care about. So
definitely. I think it's funny how parents push so much on kids like when we're 18, because I think about that and you're like sitting there talking about trade school and everybody, and if there's anything I've learned with becoming a parent is that every kid is different, and it doesn't matter if they learn how to walk today or a month from now. Like everybody's gonna meet their mile marker that they need to meet, but they're just going to meet it at different times. And it doesn't mean that they're slow or fast or super smart or whatever. But I just think like when I was 18, I had no idea. I mean, I like you, I wanted to go to art school, and my dad was just, like your parents, like not for it. He said it, like I wasn't going to make any money and it wasn't, a responsible job and this and that. But sitting here today and I look back thinking about being 18, and it's like, that's a lot of pressure to put on young adults, which are really just teenagers, and you throw them into society and you're like, you need to know what you want to be for the rest of your life. Because I feel like I'm 30 years old. Actually, I'm not. I'm 32. But I feel like I'm in my 30s, and some days I wake up and I'm like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, I feel like it changes every couple of years.
It's intense. Yeah, it's intense, and that's. I didn't see myself spending $70,000 on a career that I was probably going to pivot and change like once or 30 times, and like our society laughs at people that kind of change their career path or their college, what they're majoring in college. Once, twice, 3 times. They're like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, or
she can't make up her mind.
Can't make up her mind. This kid's lost. It's like, no shit, dude. Like
it's a lot of pressure.
So yeah, you got to try things out, right? And meanwhile, the parents are getting upset because they're like, we're paying for all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, you're really paying for the exposure of going to college and the experience, right? Like
Definitely.
You want that from your kid, and if you're not ready to kind of put up with that, then unless you have like a kid, they're like, I'm gonna be an astronaut, and like they're just from day one, A1, they're like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it. But there's a lot of people that are just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, and I'll figure it out.
I mean, yeah, everybody gets there. You figure it out.
Which is funny too, because in the Air Force, right, they kind of pick your career for you, right?
This is true.
So for me, landing in like civil engineering, at the beginning I was not happy with it, but like today, like 2-3 years later, I was like, actually, I enjoy the the whole project management aspect of my job. Like I really enjoy it. Like enjoy the the mechanical aspect of my job, so on and so forth. But I think I was just lucky or fortunate enough to kind of land it in a career like that where it wasn't so sometimes some days it doesn't feel like a job. Some days it does, and I'm like, yeah, this sucks. But for the most part, 50% of the time, 60% of the time, it never really felt like a job.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you have to accept when you sign the dotted line, that at the end of the day, whether you get the job that you wanted or you get a job that you don't want when you join the military, they're going to pick the job for you.
And you're really signing up for the experiences, right?
You are. I feel on the flip side, too. It took me a long time to get comfortable in my career field, but me being in material management, I actually enjoy that type of work with a balance of having my civilian life and then my military life, because I need that balance in order to feel complete. But when it's time for me to like roll up my sleeves and get dirty in my job, like I like that aspect, and I like, because I'm a hands-on person, and then I also like the kind of people that that career field pulls into. So I feel complete.
It's interesting. So would you recommend it?
I think that with recommending the military, something I would say today that I wouldn't have said like years ago, I would have been like, hell yeah, you get benefits and your school paid for. And today, especially like, the whole backbone of us putting out the podcast is that you really, really have to be ready to, and you're not going to know really if you're ready or not until you're in it. But you have to understand that you're signing up to go to war, and you have to try to train your mindset to be prepared for that. And so I would say,
yeah, forget about that. I do forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we kind of mask it in, oh, I go to a 9-to-5 job, but it's like this 9-to-5 job is not, nobody else has a job like this. Only 10% of the 10%, right?
1%.
1%, sorry. Always get that wrong. So I think yes, but also because it's me, I'm always like, yes, but no. Very like can't ever make up my mind. But yeah, I think I would recommend it, but you have to understand what you're signing up for when you sign up for it. Not a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think people really forget about the aspect of like, you're going to war. I have a couple young guys sometimes, I deploy people, and they're like, I'm going where? I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm going to war. Obviously, like, I exaggerate going to war, like they're just going to, an overseas assignment to work on a base. Maybe it happens to be in Iraq. But they reframe their mindset. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not just at this like 9-to-5 job. I actually have to like go and, execute the mission downrange. But that's besides the point.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, totally. Even my deployments, I think that I've gone on when I'm not doing my 9-to-5 job has been like a pretty interesting experience, pretty positive experience. And it's not necessarily like being in the Air Force at least, and I wouldn't say the military. I recommend the Air Force. The Air Force is not, it's not like any other branch of the military in the sense of lifestyle and deployments. And you are in danger, but in less danger than probably other branches of the military. You're viewed more as a technician or as somebody that does their job than like a soldier. So I do like that aspect. I do recommend it. I've had some pretty crazy experiences, pretty once in a lifetime experiences. I've been able to travel like to 22, 23 different countries. Yeah. Like be a part of humanitarian missions, things of that nature. Things when I was like anti-government Abe in high school, wanting to join the Peace Corps or something like that. Now, as being in the military, being a part of the government, like I've been exposed to those types of things, those humanitarian missions that I've always really wanted to be a part of. So for me, highly recommend obviously the benefits and like, developing myself as a person, as a human being, inside the Air Force and outside the Air Force. Yeah, like I think I'm like leaps and bounds ahead of where I would be if I would have just stayed in my hometown or stayed in my my comfort zone. So for sure.
I couldn't agree more with what you just said, in all honesty, because I know that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for me joining active duty. And I've made so many pivots in my career, and I'm not the same person from who I was, when I was 18 joining the military, and then who I am today. And I feel like it's given me so much. Have obtained so much knowledge, and I've built so much confidence and skill, and that's what allows me to pivot into all these crazy directions that I go in, and I do it, I would say about 60% fearless and just a little bit scared. But no, I'm never like fully scared to do these crazy things I've done with my career because of how much the Air Force has shaped me into being a better person. You really build a lot of discipline and you obtain a lot of knowledge. And you're right, like it catapults you into a lot further than you would ever be if you just stayed in your hometown and went to your local college and never left.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's why, parents, you highlighted like the experiences and all that stuff, right? In a sense, that's kind of what you do when you go to college, right? Like you leave your comfort area, you go out into a different place or a different part of the country to gain some sort of exposure. All these things are valuable, obviously, right? And I think that's why parents are so willing, or, these individuals in the documentary was so willing to pay $500,000 to gain their kids that same exposure.
Definitely. I don't know that I think that...
Would you pay $500,000?
For Levi?
Yeah.
No. I would say nobody paid for me to go to school, so why should I pay for Levi? But
you can't
now
say that,
my
though,
mind
yeah.
has evolved. Yeah. I see that as a toxic trait. That's not the kind of... that's not what you want to pass down. But
yeah, you're like, my hard was life, so therefore your life should be hard.
That's
too.
not breaking the cycle.
Yeah. I would say, and I think if Levi was like, and obviously that's our son for our listeners, that if this is your first episode that you're walking into, but I think if he just wanted, I hope that, once this whole pandemic virus thing and the borders open up again internationally, I would hope, obviously, that's done, or when there's not another big pandemic, when Levi is, coming to that age where he needs to go out and get life experiences. I would almost like for him to go abroad, backpack, gain some experiences for like a couple of months. I would pay for that. As far as his experiences, to try to find out who he is, a lot of really notable people within our culture, Steve Jobs, different people, they kind of went out and lived abroad, or went backpacking, or did some sort of like coming of age trip where they're trying to find themselves on this trip or on this excursion. Hopefully, he's that type of person, and he could go and do that.
I would fully support it. I think it's great that we covered this because we did a Q&A last week, and we asked people like, hey, what are topics that you want to hear about? What are things you want to ask us? And one of the listeners had asked, hey, would you recommend for people to join the Air Force, and what was your Air Force experience? So I think that we nailed it with this one. Keep that in mind. I think for people like you and I who their parents didn't go to college like our parents did, and you're trying to navigate through life, and maybe you find yourself just going to your 9-to-5 and maybe it's a dead end for you. Maybe you're like, there's no way I can move up in this job and college is too expensive. This is an alternative route. It comes with benefits. Air Force is the way to go. It comes with structure and discipline. And a lot of, just an incredible amount of experience. And of course, it will cover all your financial needs. And so think about it. So we hope that this cleared up any questions you may have. And this was just our experience, how we see it. This was part of our story. And we hope you guys have a great week. Don't forget to follow us on IG at the Collective Journey Podcast. If you're interested in seeing what Abe and I are doing on our day-to-day in Germany, you can follow me at CocoBella68 and at Abe Farias.
Stop. Anyway, if you guys want to hit up, get some free stickers, hit me up at my Instagram page. It's on the Collective Journey bio.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.